Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Maria, and you are listening to the Energy of Money podcast. Thank you for tuning in. This week is actually a continuation of what we started talking about last week, which was how to find and use your voice of wisdom. Let me just recap a little bit of what we looked at last week, that each one of us has a voice of wisdom inside. Many people describe it as a small, sweet, calm, gentle, sometimes loving voice, which usually comes to us when we need to make a decision. It doesn't always come. It's kind of haphazard. But this is the thing. When we listen to that voice of wisdom, oh, something's telling me not to do this, or something's telling me to do this. When we listen, we evade, we don't have to deal with uh, difficult situations as much as if we didn't listen to it. I think I told you my story about loaning someone $35,000 on an unsecured promissory note. And the bottom line for me was this. Right before I was going to give away that $35,000, because it was giving it away, because I lost it. But right before I was putting my name on the check, I'd made the check out for 35,000 and 00 over 100 with a little line so he couldn't cash it for more. But there was this voice just as I started to put my pen on the signature line. It said, "Don't do it." I stopped for a moment. And I leaned forward again, and I was about to put my pen to the signature line. And this voice, "Don't do it." It was like just like that, gentle, direct, wasn't yelling at me. But you see, the thing of the matter was that I did it anyway. I said, "Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just doubting myself. Maybe I'm just doubting this transaction, but, he's explained so much to me and, I'm no, 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 no." I signed it and I lost the money. And from then on, I tell you, I became a warrior for the voice of wisdom. How do we get to hear it and use it? Because you see, I didn't want to make a mistake like that again, whether it had to do with my money, relationships, health, whatever it was. Because you see, if you don't listen to your voice of wisdom over time, you don't listen, after a while it stops. And that happened to me. I didn't hear it for a while until I asked myself a simple question. What was that small, sweet voice anyway? What was it trying to tell me? How can I listen to it more consistently, especially when I need it? And right then, I promised to myself, if and when I heard my voice of wisdom again, I promised to listen to it and do what it said. That's a huge promise, isn't it? You see? And sure enough, just because of that promise, when I said, well, I added on, I am willing to hear my voice of wisdom. Some of you probably heard me talk in the past about being willing, haven't you? It's that power that you and I possess if we can be willing to do something we don't know how to do. We can be willing to do something we're afraid of doing. We can be willing to do something that we think we can't do. And when I said to myself, I am willing to hear my voice of wisdom, a couple weeks later, I was about to make a decision about something. And I heard my voice of wisdom because I was about to go down one path. It said, don't do it. And I stopped. And I talked with my staff. I talked with my colleagues. I got some more information. And it turned out I should not have done that. I should not have done what my voice of wisdom said, don't do. I was glad I listened to my voice of wisdom, is the best way to put it. Hmm? So your voice of wisdom doesn't tell you just to not do something, okay? It will tell you, go ahead and do it, okay? And sometimes it won't just say, do it. It might say, apologize to your Aunt Jane. You know, make up with your sister. Hmm? It could say things like, acknowledge Jim for the great work he's been doing. You see that it says a number of different things, but it's short and sweet. And so the question is, how might you learn to elicit your voice of wisdom with ease? Because, success is doing what you said you would do consistently with clarity, focus, ease, and grace, isn't it? Yep. So the first question I want to ask you, because I'm going to teach you how to unlock and use your voice of wisdom. Okay? The first question is this: are you willing to hear it? Now, you might think that the answer is an automatic yes, I would love to, especially after hearing what Dr. Maria went through. I mean, come on, yes. And yet at some point, there's a little something that comes up for us right around then. It's a little niggling voice, and it doesn't sound like our voice of wisdom. It sounds a little, oh, I don't know, it's a little more, it's a stronger voice. It's more like, don't take away your freedom. This is going to be silly. It's not going to work. And besides, even if it does work, what are you doing? You're turning over your power to something else. You have what it takes. Now that voice, I call it, there's two names we use. One is the negativity bias. Negativity bias. And the negativity bias is it comes from long, long time ago when we lived in caves. It's the tendency of your brain to look for what won't work before it looks for what will work. It's that part of the brain that looks for what will go wrong before you look at what will go right. Another word is that we use is monkey mind, which is a Buddhist term. It stands for that aspect of the mind that is always chattering at us as it swings back and forth from doubt to worry and back to doubt again. And it's always, you know, saying, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with the situation? What's wrong with your goal or dream? And I don't know if I've devoted a whole show to why that negativity bias is there and how it is your brain's attempt to protect you. I think I'll do that at some point because it's really important for us to see how and why the brain does what it does. Like, why would we have a brain that says, come on, you're not up to this? And yet we do have that aspect of our brain, which comes up every time we're about to do something new, different, or unique. And it's there. If you want to start writing a book, you sit down at your computer, you put your hands on top of the keyboard, and you just, they once asked Stephen King, how do you write books? I've written so many books. How do you do it? He says, well, I hover my hands over my keyboard and I start sweating. And he says, when I start sweating blood, I begin. It's always there. That's what he's saying. But we can learn how to handle that negativity bias. And I just might do it in another program, okay? Because it's really important for you to know in every area of your life, your money, your relationships, your physical vitality. Learn to recognize and appreciate that negativity bias. So we'll do it another time. But right now, it's different from your voice of wisdom because your voice of wisdom is that small, sweet, soft voice. And if you're at a choice point and you learn how to ask your voice of wisdom what to do, it will come up with an answer for you that will work. Yeah, it works. It just does. I don't know why, but it just does. Frankly, I don't know where your voice of wisdom comes from. It just it's just there. So take out a pen, take out a notebook if you have one handy. And I'm going to give you instructions. Okay? One of the easiest ways to look at our voice of wisdom is the following. Make a list of 2 or 3 people who you admire. You admire them for some qualities that they have. Okay? Maybe they're appreciative, maybe they're brilliant, maybe they're creative, maybe they're compassionate, generous, trustworthy, loyal. It doesn't, I'm giving you the sense of the kinds of words, okay, the qualities that they possess. So take a moment and make a list of 2 people or 3 that have qualities that you admire. Okay, they're writing that down. Yes? Good. Because we're not going to do it in here. I'm just giving you the instructions, and I want you to do it when you're away from this podcast and let me know how it's working. Okay? You can always go to marianemeth.com and leave me a message. I love to hear from you. So you've got 2 or 3 people who have qualities or traits that you admire. Yes? Good. Now, starting with the first person, what is it that you admire about them? Once again, are they trustworthy, loyal, compassionate, generous? Just a couple things. What do you admire about them? Courageous? Then go down to the next person. What do you admire about them? Okay. And even if some of those qualities are repeated, you can write the quality down again, or you can put a little check mark next to the quality that occurs again in this list and do it with the third person. So What you want are maybe 3, maybe 4 qualities that you admire about other people, okay? Now, I have another are you willing question. It's this. Are you willing to see something about yourself out of this exercise? About you out of this exercise? So I want you to consider the possibility that the qualities or traits that you listed describe you. Now, why do I say that? Well, I asked you to write down the names of 2 or 3 people. Did I say to you exactly who to do it? No, no. And then when I asked you to write down the qualities you admire, did I say say this and this and this? No, 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 no. It came from you. So, are you willing to consider that possibility? Now, you might say to yourself, I'm not will I don't want to, rather, I don't want to, or I I think it's couldn't possibly be me, and nevertheless, I'm willing to consider that they are me. Just am I willing? Because this is what you do. Take those qualities and you can put them on either a 3 by 5 card or on a little Post-it note that you can stick on your computer. And then this is what you do. The minute you have to make a decision about anything, you stop. You take 3 deep breaths. Why? Because you want to cool down your brain, especially this one particular part called the amygdala, which could be where the negativity bias comes from. But the most important thing is just and do that 2 more times. Just do 3 times in a row. And then you look at the specific decision you have to make and write it down. Should I take this job or not? Should I buy this product rather, or not? Should I hire this person? Should I let this person go? Whatever it is, okay? Something that you know you need to do and you're not clear about how to do it. So you've written that down, haven't you? Good. Next thing you do, you read these qualities that you listed. Just read them. It's good to read them out loud so your brain hears them. Generous, loving, compassionate, loyal, trustworthy. So just read them out loud to yourself. Some people like to do this in private where people don't think they're going crazy. But you read that. Then you say, and this is the important thing, because your voice of wisdom will only tell you what to do next. It won't tell you what to do a week from now. It won't even tell you what to do 2 or 3 days from now. Why? Because the decision you make today to do or not do something will change your future. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whatever decision you make right now will change your future. So, what should I do a week from now? It's not the kind of question your voice of wisdom will answer. It will only answer what you should do now. Okay? It's not like it's not like a Ouija board, or it's not like one of those a psychic. No, 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 no. This is just your voice of wisdom. So this is how you do it. Once again, you take 3 deep breaths. You read those qualities out loud. Then you say, what would someone who is, and read your qualities, compassionate, generous, loyal, trustworthy, do next in this situation? So it sounds like, what would someone who is generous, compassionate, loyal, trustworthy do next in this situation? And you wait and you listen for that little voice. Now, it may not come. It may come the first time, it may not. So you've got to do it again. What someone who is compassionate, loving, trustworthy, generous, and loyal do next in this situation? Listen. By this time, you'll probably hear it. If you don't, though, no worries. You ask it again. What would someone, and just be very patient, what would someone who is compassionate, loving, loyal, trustworthy, and generous do next? And then take your pen in your opposite hand and write the answer. I know it may sound awkward, but you know, sometimes people say, even as I start writing it with my opposite hand, I start hearing it in my head. It comes. And this is the promise, though, that you have to make with your voice of wisdom. You must do what it said to do. Don't second guess your voice of wisdom. Nope. You must do what it said to do. Because if we don't, after a while, it won't work. Because it's not providing you any value. It won't work. So that's how to do it, my friends. Find and use your voice of wisdom. You can do it having to do with money. What would someone who is compassionate, generous, loyal, and trustworthy do next regarding buying this television set? And you might hear, go ahead. You might hear, not at this time. Either way, if you follow what your voice of wisdom says, I promise you, you will find a way to navigate the various choice points that we all have in life with clarity, focus, ease, and grace. So try it out. This is Dr. Maria saying, here's to your productive use of your voice of wisdom. See you next time.